B, me, 26, working for some nonprofit that promotes equity in the workplace. Got a younger brother, Tyler. He's 19 when this kicks off. Spent way too much money on college and took a couple sociology electives that fried my brain. Finally click how hard the whole patriarchy thing seeps into literally everything. Get that annoying feeling, like it's my job to do something about it. Start thinking the men around me need to be educated. Start with family, because that's the easiest target. Tyler's at that sweet spot where his opinions aren't totally set in concrete, yet perfect time to steer him into being one of the good ones. Decide to start doing morning talks every day at breakfast. Same routine him with a bowl of cornflakes. Me with coffee and a mission. Start laying it out for him, real simple. Tell him just existing as a guy. Hands him advantages he didn't earn. Point out he can walk around at 1 a.m. without doing that constant keys between fingers math say when he speaks in a room. People naturally treat it like the default voice. Meanwhile, women have to fight just to be heard. Over the background noise, hit him with the heavy line. Tyler, being born male means you're automatically part of a system that crushes half the planet. He mostly just nods and stares at his cereal, like it's giving him answers. Takes another bite, says, okay, in that tone that means nothing. I take it as progress anyway. Few weeks go by, and I'm feeling like I'm really getting through. Then I catch him doing the classic move stack of dishes left in the sink, like it's a museum exhibit. This is my moment, walk in like a disappointed professor. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Tyler, you just assume someone else is going to handle the cleanup, and guess who someone else usually is in this world. Tell him that's domestic labor inequality. In real time he mumbles, sorry, without looking at me, turns on the water and scrubs the plates. I stand there satisfied, like I just fixed society, one fork at a time. After that, I start seeing teachable moments everywhere. It's like once you buy the lens, you can't take it off. Tyler gets into his first choice school. That spring family does the whole dinner celebration thing. Dad's smiling, mom's taking pictures. Tyler looks relieved for once. I physically cannot stop myself. You know your odds were statistically better because you're male, right? Drop the line about how committees unconsciously favor male applicants in a bunch of programs. Mom shoots me the look that says, please shut up for 5 minutes. I keep going anyway because I'm me. I'm not saying you didn't earn it. I'm saying the system tilts. Tyler goes silent and just pushes food around for the rest of the meal. Later that night, I hear him on the phone with his girlfriend, Rachel's voice all tight and weird, like he's trying not to crack instead of backing off. I decide that means I need to commit harder months roll by, and I turn his life into an ongoing curriculum. Every conversation becomes an opening. He mentions joining the debate team. I tell him debate culture is basically a male megaphone contest. Tell him he'll get taken more seriously by default, just because his voice is a dude. Voice he talks about his part-time job at a grocery store. I go into wage gap stuff and how his male coworkers probably get treated like future managers. He complains about being exhausted after a shift. I remind him women live tired because they're doing emotional labor 24/7. The kind men barely even notice, let alone perform. Around month 8, he starts getting quieter, stops joking around, keeps answers short, doesn't hang out in the kitchen anymore. I tell myself he's just processing the uncomfortable reality I'm showing him, so obviously I double down. If he's uncomfortable, I must be hitting something real, hit him with the fragility angle. Your discomfort right now is exactly the fragility that keeps oppressive systems standing. He starts skipping family dinners, claims he's not hungry, eats in his room. In my head, it's cognitive dissonance, worldview, shifting, plates rearranging. Whatever year 2 hits, and I'm fully in my element. Put together what I swear is a comprehensive approach to unlearning his internalized male supremacy. Morning sessions get longer, intersectionality, emotional labor, theory, historical context of patriarchal violence stuff. I probably sound insane saying out loud. Before 9 a.m., tell him, straight-faced, that every woman he meets is doing mental math about whether he's a threat. That's the reality because of men like you. He finally looks up and goes, what do you mean men like me? I explain that all men contribute to threatening behavior, whether they intend to or not, that the whole category carries danger because history made it that way. Around this time, he starts seeing a counselor through school. Honestly think it's good, extra support while he's digesting these truths. I even tell my mom therapy could help him work through his defensive reactions. Mom tells me maybe I should chill with the politics around him. I say if I stay quiet, I'm basically helping him stay ignorant. Catch Tyler crying in his room one night, like actual sobbing, not just allergies crying, knock once and step in, try to do the supportive educator thing. I know this is a lot. Tyler, recognizing privilege is supposed to feel bad. That discomfort means you're finally seeing clearly. He wipes his face and asks me to leave, like he can't even look at me. I tell him wanting to avoid the conversation is itself male privilege. Women don't get to opt out of oppression. Year 3, Tyler's 22, now still living at home and doing community college nearby, which selfishly is perfect for me, means I can keep the program running with no interruptions. But he's getting off, sleeps all day, barely talks, stops texting his friends back at dinner. He just stares at his plate like it's an enemy. I decide this is just the deprogramming, working with some rough side effects, necessary growing pains. So I aim at his social life. Next, bring up his friend group, specifically this dude, Brandon and the rest of the guys. Male friendships tend to reinforce toxic patterns. Tell him he probably slips into casual misogyny without even realizing it. He says they mostly just play video games together. I immediately go in, tell him gaming is a giant pipeline for male socialization around dominance and violence. Add that gaming culture is infamous for being hostile to women. Watch his face shut down, like I just pulled the plug on him again. Tell him maybe he should actually think about whether those friendships are helping him grow or just keeping him stuck. He just shrugs, like I asked him to do taxes few days later. He casually mentions he's thinking about transferring to a real 4-year school. Immediately see the landmine. Tyler, campuses are basically entitlement boot camps for dudes, right? Start listing it off, frats party culture, the whole hookup ecosystem, where guys act like they're owed access to women. Explain how college men keep rape culture alive through harmless stuff, the jokes, the walk you home routine, the way they crowd around drunk girls and call it socializing. Tell him even if he thinks he's being respectful, he's still part of the machine that scares women. Every weekend, he goes dead quiet. Doesn't mention transferring again after that. By year 4, it's getting obvious something's happening to him. He barely leaves the house unless it's work or class. Spends most of his time sealed in his room like a hostage situation. When he does come downstairs, he's jumpy, flinches at normal conversation. Acts like any noise is a threat. I tell myself, it's him trying to stitch together the brutal reality I've been showing him, remind him that feeling weird about his masculinity is actually a sign he's waking up, like, congrats, your conscience finally loaded in. Then one night, he brings a girl home from his job. Name's Ashley, seems polite, laughs at my mom's corny jokes, says, nice to meet you, like she means it. But I've got a responsibility here. Can't just let her walk into the trap blind at dinner. I start explaining how women are trained to prioritize male comfort in relationships. Ashley, you should pay attention to whether you're doing emotional labor for Tyler without getting it back. Tell her, women end up managing men's moods like it's their second job. I can feel Tyler getting tense across the table, his jaw tight, foot bouncing under the chair. I keep going anyway, say most straight relationships end up recreating the same old power dynamic, even when both people swear they're progressive. Ashley starts looking at the clock, says she's got homework, leaves early. Tyler bolts after her, like the house is on fire next morning. I catch him in the kitchen, staring into his coffee like it's going to forgive him. I bring it up immediately. Your little explosion last night? Perfect example of male fragility. He snaps back that I embarrassed him in front of Ashley. Tell him his embarrassment is not the priority here. Her understanding how gender dynamics work matters more than your comfort. Tell him the urge to protect his own feelings over a woman's awareness is textbook male behavior. He doesn't even argue, just stares into the mug, face blank. After that, he stops bringing anyone around. No friends, no coworkers, nothing. Honestly, probably for the best, considering most guy groups are basically toxicity support circles. I pointed out one day, I've noticed you're not socializing much anymore. You starting to see how male spaces can get nasty? He nods, but his eyes look like he's somewhere else entirely. I tell him solitude isn't always bad if you use it for self-reflection and raising your consciousness, like sitting with yourself is part of the work year. 5 hits, and it stops looking like processing and starts looking like something heavier. Weekends he sleeps until mid-afternoon, stopped doing hobbies, doesn't game with the guys anymore, doesn't talk about anything. He likes, if I bring up current events or anything social justice related, I get one-word replies. Yeah, sure, okay figure. He's drowning in the weight of understanding his place inside oppressive systems, decides subtle isn't cutting it. He needs the full treatment, start leaving articles on his desk books too. Stuff about male violence, toxic masculinity, historical oppression, the ugly timeline of how women got boxed in for centuries, tell him flat out. You can't just absorb this passively anymore. You have to actually engage. Check a couple weeks later, the pile hasn't moved pages untouched like they're radioactive, I call it. Out tell him. Avoiding educational material is itself a privilege move. Women don't get to ignore oppression because it makes them sad. One evening I hear him on the phone, voice low. Sounds like he's talking about therapy appointments, good professional support, might help him untangle the cognitive dissonance faster. Later, I ask how it's going. He says, therapy is private. Tell him accountability works better with transparency. Keeping your emotional work secret is another way men dodge responsibility for growth. He doesn't react, just goes quiet like he's running out of battery. Year 6 rolls around, and he's 24 now, and instead of better, he's spiraling, especially around me. He leaves rooms when I walk in, won't make eye contact if we're forced into the same space. He looks genuinely scared, like I'm a cop and he's got warrants. Tell myself it's internalized shame surfacing, which technically means the conditioning is breaking, so I decide to address the avoidance head on. Tyler, I've noticed you've been dodging conversations with me. That defensive avoidance is exactly how men stay ignorant. He says he's just tired. I tell him claiming fatigue to dodge accountability is a classic deflection. Women are tired too, Tyler. They don't get to clock out from oppression. Say his resistance is doing more damage than the education ever did then. One night I catch him on his laptop. Tabs open apartments, leases, roommate listings. My stomach drops. Are you trying to move out? Tell him, distance doesn't fix the internal work. You can't change your zip code and magically unlearn masculinity. He slams the laptop shut like I caught him stealing. I tell him running from uncomfortable truths is the most predictable guy move on earth. You can't relocate to escape the patriarchy. It follows you because you're carrying it. Tyler starts taking more shifts at the store, staying late, picking up weekends, grabbing every extra hour he can. It's obvious he's using work as a shield to dodge the house. And by the house, I mean me, I call it out. You're avoiding family time. You're avoiding the work. Tell him workaholism is basically masculinity in a suit. Guys bury themselves in schedules so they don't have to do emotional labor. Tell him career obsession is just another toxic coping mechanism. Ask him if he's using employment to protect his comfort and dodge accountability. He says he's saving money for what another exit strategy. You can't pay your way out of unlearning this, Tyler. He does that thing where he looks past me like, I'm a commercial year. 7 shows up, and he's barely the same person. He's gotten thin in a scary way. Always tense talks so quiet, it's basically a whisper. Hands shake when he's holding a glass, jumps when a door closes too hard, and he'll stay in his room all day like the outside world is poison. Mom starts getting worried out loud, keeps asking if he's sick. I tell her this is what dismantling toxic masculinity looks like up close, that it's naturally traumatic when a man finally grasps the damage he can do just by existing in a male body. It's heavy, but it's necessary. Decide we need a real milestone talk about the whole 7-year journey. Catch him one morning at the table, staring at nothing, go into supportive mode. Tyler, I want you to know I'm proud of you. I know it's hard to face your privilege and your potential for harm. He doesn't answer, just keeps staring at the wall like there's something written there. Only he can see his silence starts to freak me out. Honestly, tell him, women don't need allies who just sit there, silently feeling bad. Silent allyship is useless. He needs to speak, he needs to actively denounce masculinity, advocate, call things out, be loud about it. He still says nothing, like he's not even in the room with me. Start noticing he's been on the phone late at night, always in the hallway, voice low, stopping when someone walks by. Sounds like he's talking about leaving, about starting over somewhere. and I get this flash of panic that he's reconnecting with old guy friends or slipping back into old patterns. So I confront him. If you're talking to old friends, you need to be careful. Male friendships can rewind years of progress. Tell him it only takes one toxic group chat to undo everything he gives me. This exhausted look and walks away. Then one morning, he doesn't come down for breakfast, which is weird because even when he's been avoiding us, he'll at least grab something. I go to his room, open the door, empty like cleaned out empty mattress, bare closet, clear drawers gone through, no piles, no laundry, no random junk, just a room that looks like nobody ever lived there on the pillow. There's a single note, "Don't try to find me." My stomach drops straight through the floor. I call his phone. Immediately goes right to voicemail. Try again, same thing. Then the recorded message hits me. Number not in service, full on, panic mode. Spend the entire week calling everyone, friends, co-workers, anyone who ever existed near him. His old buddies say they haven't talked to him in years, like he died and they forgot. His workplace tells us he quit. Through an email, asked for his final check to be mailed, no explanation, no goodbye, just gone. His therapist refuses to say anything because confidentiality, mom calls the police. They do the basic report thing. Then they hit us with the cold. Truth adults are allowed to disappear if they want to. Slowly it sinks in. He didn't run off for a night. He vanished. Weeks turn into months. No calls, no texts, no random "I'm alive" message, nothing. We hire a private investigator because mom can't function. The guy pokes around and finds absolutely nothing. I check social media like an idiot, but Tyler never posted much anyway, so there's barely anything to even watch. Go silent, mom cries every day, keeps asking what we did wrong. I try to keep my voice steady and tell her, maybe he just needs space, that he'll come back when he's ready to engage with the work, authentically. 6 months pass, and that explanation starts sounding fake. Even to me. PI tells us Tyler basically erased himself. New phone number, closed what little social media. He had no forwarding address, and apparently he stopped using his credit cards entirely. Like he decided to become cash, and Air Mom keeps circling back to. Me says maybe my education was too intense. I tell her that's what people do. Victims blame themselves instead of looking at the system. Then the investigator finally calls with something, a possible sighting. Someone matching Tyler's description in Vermont, using a different name, working at a little bookstore in some small town outside Burlington. I goes there, talks to him. The guy denies knowing anyone named Tyler, says he has no family in Ohio. Investigator says the voice sounded right, the mannerisms sounded right, but the dude looked him in the eye and acted like we never existed. And that's when it hits me like a truck. He didn't just move out. He didn't just need space. He rebuilt himself from scratch to escape us. New name, new state, new life. Like my brother got deleted and replaced with a stranger. For the first time in years, I feel actually unsure of something. Like a piece of reality stopped obeying the rules. I thought I understood. I start calling the bookstore over and over. Every time someone answers, I hang up because what do you even say? Eventually, I force myself to speak. Is this Tyler? It's your sister. I just want to talk. Long pause. So long, I think the line died. Then his voice, flat and clean. I don't have a sister. Please don't call here again. Click, I call back right away. Someone else answers, tells me that employee doesn't work there anymore, like he evaporated. The second I touch the edge of his new life, realize he probably moved again, and he'll keep moving if he has to. Anything to stay out of my reach. Spend the next few weeks in this fog, confused, horrified, rewinding the last 7 years. Like I'm looking for a hidden message, his anxiety, his isolation. The way he flinched when I walked into a room, start wondering quietly if maybe my approach got misunderstood somehow. Then I shoved the thought away that can't be. Everything I taught him was real, factually correct. Maybe he just wasn't built to handle the truth about masculinity. Then Mom finds a box while cleaning out what's left of his room. His old journals, stuffed in the back, like he didn't want anyone to see them. Mom sits at the kitchen table with that journal. Like its evidence, starts reading out loud, and her voice keeps catching pages, full of him, saying he felt trapped, like he was some kind of monster in a human costume, lines about being scared of himself. Entries about staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering if he was born wrong. Then she flips further back and my throat tightens. He'd been planning to disappear for almost 2 years. Not a spur-of-the-moment thing. Blueprints lists, dates, notes about what to sell, what to ditch, how to leave no trace. There's whole sections describing panic attacks. He wrote about hearing footsteps in the hallway and going ice cold, like he was waiting for a judge to come, sentence him. Keeps writing the same idea over and over, hopeless beyond, fixing no redemption. Mom looks up at me with swollen eyes and goes, "You need to hear what he was actually saying," so I start reading too. And it's like I'm reading a parallel universe version of our life. He writes about our breakfast talks, but from his side, it doesn't sound like education. It sounds like an interrogation. He wrote that he felt like he couldn't move or speak without proving something awful. Like every breath was another piece of evidence that I was right pages of him, terrified of confirming my points about men being dangerous. He's not arguing with me in the writing. He's begging himself to stop being what I said. There's this constant self-hatred running through it, confusion about his own existence. And then the line that makes my hands go numb. He wrote he started planning to escape before he hurt someone. Like, he genuinely believed he was a loaded gun. Each entry gets darker, more certain, more convinced. He was rotten at the core. Then I hit an entry from about 5 months before he vanished. He wrote about telling his therapist about the morning sessions with me, and the therapist used the phrase psychological abuse that sounds insane to read. But then he writes, "It feels dramatic." But I can't deny how scared I am all the time. She's trying to help me be better. Maybe I'm too broken to be helped. Maybe disappearing is the kindest option for everyone. Something cold crawls into my stomach and just sits there because suddenly the last 7 years rearranged themselves in my head. He wasn't pushing back. He was sinking. He wasn't dodging accountability. He was mapping exits. He wasn't processing masculinity. He was having a full collapse, and I kept pressing harder because I thought pain meant progress. I start dialing numbers from that bookstore, lead like a maniac, Vermont, area codes, store line, random listings nearby for weeks. I'm calling, and calling like repetition will open a portal. Eventually, I get someone who worked with him there, a woman with a tired voice. She says he seemed haunted, not like a sketchy guy, like someone who hadn't slept in years. Tells me he never talked about before. No hometown stories, no family, nothing says. He left suddenly right after he got phone calls from somebody claiming to be family, and after those calls he looked like he'd seen a ghost. She says he kept repeating that his past was dead, and it had to stay dead. Then she gives me the name he was using. Not Tyler, something clean and ordinary. Derek. He picked a whole new person off a shelf and wore it, and the horror keeps growing because it clicks. What that means? He didn't just want distance. He believed he escaped something abusive. He changed his identity to get away from me. He spent months building a disappearance like it was a shelter. He chose being broken alone over being in the same house as me. He erased 7 years of sibling life because, to him, it was trauma. And my brain keeps snapping back to the same defense, but everything I told him was true. Men do get unfair advantages. Male culture is a mess. How does telling him reality turn into abuse? Mom doesn't even want to hear me say it after she finishes the journals. She stops speaking to me, like I'm not there. Finally she says it, calm in a way that's worse than yelling. She should have stepped in years ago. She thought it was just debates, philosophy, politics. 2 young adults arguing at breakfast. She admits she heard him crying at night, and every time she asked he'd say it was fine. He was covering for me, even while I was tearing him apart. Then she packs a bag and goes to stay with her sister. Says she needs space, door shuts. House goes quiet in a way that feels permanent. Now it's just me in this empty place with his handwriting. I keep rereading the journals. Like, if I read them enough times, the ending changes. One entry stops my heart. He wrote that. I asked if he understood. Women have to calculate whether he's a threat. And then he spent 3 hours Googling male violence stats, and the conclusion he wrote is brutal. I probably am dangerous and don't even know it. Maybe the safest move is to never interact with women again. Maybe she's right and I'm a monster that hasn't revealed itself yet. I flip forward and there's another entry from a couple years back. He wrote about having self-harm thoughts again, and then wrote what I said to him about male suicide, how it's violence against women because it dumps emotional responsibility onto everyone else. And he writes, "She's right, even my pain centers me. I'm trapped between wanting to die and not wanting to hurt anyone by dying. Maybe disappearing is the compromise. That's when it really hits. He wasn't learning about privilege, he was learning to hate himself. Every conversation I labeled awareness was him hearing, "You are wrong, you are dangerous, you are poison." He took every critique of masculinity as a verdict on his soul. He spent years convinced he was a future rapist, a future abuser, a ticking time bomb, and his big plan wasn't rebellion, it was service. Like he thought vanishing was protecting the world from him. Eventually I end up in therapy myself, because the house feels like it's crushing me. I sit there and tell the counselor everything. 7 years of mourning, talks, constant corrections, accountability speeches, the way I turned every moment into a lesson. She listens without making a face, lets me talk until I run out of breath. Then she's quiet for a long time, like she's choosing words carefully. Finally, she says it. "What you're describing sounds like systematic psychological abuse." I try to push back, tell her the content was accurate, that it was factually true, that men benefit, that women suffer. She doesn't argue the facts. She just says, calm as a knife. Truth without love or context can still be a weapon. And then she starts explaining what I didn't want to see, how I took real social criticism and aimed it at one person, like a laser. How non-stop negativity about someone's identity rewires their brain into shame. How living in a home where you never feel safe or accepted turns into trauma. And I sit there realizing Tyler didn't run from accountability. He ran from me. Therapist lays it out in a way I can't wriggle out of, says I gave him zero path back to being okay. "You taught him he was wrong for existing," she says, "but you never showed him how to be good." And that sentence hits harder than anything else she's said. Because she's right, I spent years labeling him the problem, and never once offered him acceptance. Start seeing how my whole approach was backwards. I kept saying I wanted to make an ally. But what I actually built was a kid, so soaked in shame he had to vanish instead of teaching him about privilege. I trained him to believe he was permanently contaminated instead of helping women. I pushed one guy into total social isolation. My methods didn't just miss the goal, they landed on the exact opposite spend months trying to find him anyway. Like, if I can just locate the body, I can resurrect the person, hire another investigator, then another, different agencies, different fees, same dead ends, search social media for Derek until my eyes hurt. It's just a million unrelated guys, and one dentist start calling random little bookstores across the Pacific Northwest. Portland, Tacoma, Eugene, Spokane, tiny places with names that sound made up. All of them. Tell me, no, sorry, nobody like that. Works here, eventually I have to accept what I don't want to say. Out loud. He's gone, not just moved, not just taking space. The person he used to be is psychologically erased. The brother who sat there for 7 years eating cereal while I lectured. That kid doesn't exist anymore. I didn't lose him in traffic. I nuked him with kindness. That wasn't kind. Start writing letters? I'll never send, because I don't even know what mailbox a ghost uses. Dear Tyler, I'm sorry. I made you afraid of yourself. Dear Tyler, I was wrong about how change happens. Dear Tyler, you deserved love, not daily criticism. Dear Tyler, please come home so I can learn how to be your sister again. Fill pages, rip pages up, start over. And even while I'm writing, I know it wouldn't fix anything. Even if I reached him, the damage is baked in, trust doesn't unshatter. This isn't a wound that closes if you talk it out months. Go by, and Mom finally agrees to meet me for coffee. She looks older than she should, like someone scooped the color out of her. She sits down and doesn't even pretend. Do you understand what you did? I start to say my intentions were good, that he needed to understand privilege. She cuts me off so fast, it's like she'd been waiting years. He needed to feel loved by his sister. Everything else was just your ego. And I don't have a comeback, because the second she says it, I recognize it. 7 years of education was really 7 years of me getting to be, right? I got to be the enlightened one, the teacher, the person with the vocabulary and the answers, and he got to be the defective product. I kept trying to repair. I turned my little brother into a project. Like he was a broken appliance I could fix with enough lectures, fed my own righteousness by correcting him non-stop. Never once asked the simplest question. Do you feel loved? Do you feel safe? Do you feel accepted? Here, therapist starts poking at the ugly center of it, asks why I needed him to be wrong so I could be right. Says healthy education includes encouragement. prays room to breathe, unconditional love. Says, I created a space where he could never win, where good enough wasn't on the menu. You set up a dynamic where his existence was a problem to solve, she says. And I realize I was basically performing feminism on his nervous system, used him as a dumping ground for every ounce of anger I had at the world. I try to imagine what those years felt like from his side. Daily reminders he belonged to a harmful group, every accomplishment immediately undercut with a privilege lecture, every little habit examined for proof of toxicity. No safe corner of the house where he could just exist without being evaluated. And over time, that probably turned into certainty that he was fundamentally dangerous, that he was one bad moment away from proving me right. I keep remembering how he used to be before all this, how he'd light up when I got home, how he'd shove homework at me and ask for help, how he'd tell me dumb stories about his day, how we used to watch movies and laugh at the same stupid lines shared inside jokes, normal sibling stuff. And I replaced all of it with ideology and corrections, turned Big Sister into a daily alarm bell telling him he was worthless. Worst part is the thought that he probably still believes everything I fed him wherever he is. He's probably still convinced he's a threat, probably avoids dating because he thinks he's inherently harmful, probably keeps women at a distance, like he's doing them a favor, living in constant shame, like it's a moral duty. I didn't just take his family, I took his ability to feel okay in his own skin, start obsessing over signs that he's alive, search Derek in Oregon and Washington, obituaries like a lunatic, scan local papers online, half expecting to see found dead, with a photo that looks like him. Then I swing the other way and check missing person reports compulsively, like maybe I'll recognize him under another name, and somewhere in the middle of that spiral, it hits me. He might actually be safer without me. He might be happier, completely away from my voice. Maybe my absence is the only kindness I have left to offer, but the not knowing eats me anyway. It's slow, constant, like rust. Realize I spent years confusing being right with being helpful, confusing education with domination, confusing consciousness, raising with psychological torture, took my anger at a system, and concentrated it onto one person who trusted me. Made him carry the weight of everything men have done while giving him zero space to believe he had any worth. Therapist asks what I'd say if I could see him one more time, and the answer comes out before I can filter it. I'd tell him he's good, that he was always good, that being male doesn't make him a monster, that he deserves love and peace and happiness, that I was wrong about almost everything that mattered, and that if staying gone is what keeps him safe from me, then he should stay gone. I start thinking about how this story ends up online. Sometimes how people recognize pieces of themselves, and it spreads, and I get this sick thought that maybe he'll read it somewhere, so I'm saying it anyway, even if it's pathetic. If you see this, I'm sorry. You were a good brother, and I was a terrible sister. You became Derek because being my brother hurt too much, and I hope you're happier. Now, hope you're healing, hope you're learning to see yourself as a human being, again instead of a walking threat. Hope you find someone someday who sees your worth without turning you into a lesson. Hope you're somewhere safe being gentle with yourself, remembering you mattered, and honestly, I hope you never think about me again because I'm the person who taught you to hate yourself, and there's no way to make that forgivable.